Ambassador John McDonald, please can you relate to me again that story on how UNEP ended up in Nairobi? Ambassador?
You want me to tell that story again?
Yes, tell that story again, because you're telling to an audience.
Well, in 1982, the United Nations held its first World Conference on the environment. And I was a major activist in putting that conference together and holding it in Stockholm, Sweden. It was only a 2-week conference, which is unique in UN history, and it was only for ministers of development. And so 120 countries met in Stockholm, Sweden for 2 weeks. And at the end of that time, they took my 4 draft resolutions and adopted them 95% of what I proposed, and UNEP was created unanimously by the nations present. On the last day of the 2 weeks, they had not decided where the Secretariat of UNEP should be located. So 13 nations stepped forward and wanted the Secretariat located in their country. And so that was postponed to the General Assembly that fall in New York in 1982. And the General Assembly had to decide where the Secretariat would be located. Well, I was optimistic. I wanted the Secretariat located in Geneva, where so many other specialized agencies were represented. But I was disappointed because I realized that the opening of the General Assembly in 1982 that the government of Austria had different ideas. They sent their foreign minister to New York, whose sole job was to get the Secretariat located in Vienna, Austria. They're trying to build up Vienna as a third UN city after New York and Geneva. And all he did was divide the West. So of the 13 countries who wanted the Secretariat UNEP located in their country, 6 were from the West and 7 from the Third World. Well, the foreign minister of Austria divided the West, in which 3 countries agreed to Vienna and the other 3 wanted Geneva. So I knew that the West was not going to succeed because it had to be done unanimously. And so I watched to see what would happen. And the 7 developing countries argued among themselves and finally reduced the number of countries to 2. India, who was headed by Mrs. Gandhi, and Kenya, who was headed by Mr. Kenyatta. And they were both powerful leaders, and both decided to have their ambassadors in New York reach agreement. Well, so the Kenyan ambassador, I have a great visual image of the Kenyan ambassador, who was 6'8", and the Indian ambassador, who was 5 foot, weighs 100 pounds, walking down the corridors of the UN side by side, trying to reach agreement. You can imagine visually what that was like. Well, they never succeeded. And so finally, Mr. Kenyatta told Mrs. Gandhi to have their ambassadors decide what would happen. And so they argued for weeks, and finally they couldn't agree. And so Mr. Kenyatta told his ambassador to tell the Indian ambassador to tell Mrs. Gandhi unless the Secretariat was located in Nairobi, he would kick every